Hello, once again. How's it going? My men. My mic. Thank you, Vic. Hope you're doing well. Yo. So, yeah. Half a year of modding streams. Can you believe it? Let's go for a full year. That's really all I have to say about it. Still in shock and awe, but happy about it. There you go. And yeah, I spent a long time after the fraud night working on this map. I only fixed a few things. Oh, like one thing. I just edited this area to make it a little bit easier for you to seal that off. But that was about it. That was the only thing that I did this morning. Everything else was done over yesterday. Pretty short order. I posted some work in progresses in the Hydra channel. Probably should have done it in the Mark Time Strategy channel since it's a melee map, not strictly Hydra. But whatever. Yeah, I actually have the, I'll give you a list of, or like, I'll give you the before and after, basically. So this is the first, hold on, I'll show you. Right here we have the first version that we played in Fraud Night, and this is the updated version. I think it speaks for itself when I say it's completely fucking different. Like fairly obvious. Yeah, I was kind of sad about the less water. I mean, for one, it took a long fucking time to put together. For another, it definitely was more thematic, but now it's sort of like, oh, it's like this arcing zigzag thing, whatever, you know, there's something there visually that's satisfying. And the lack of just hard right angles everywhere, I think, helps both visually and also in gameplay terms. There's probably a few too many areas like this where it's just random blocky shit, which I could remove most of in order to provide a more gameplay space, if that makes any sense. Yeah, it looks like something completely different. I do like the new middle because of the fact that you can open this up later on, and otherwise, since I'm conceptualizing it as a 2v2 map first and foremost, which is probably like a gift and a curse. It helps me out in some ways, and it hurts me in others, I'm sure. But because I'm conceptualizing it that way, I'm thinking like red and blue and are a team, and then the bottom pair, so it's top versus bottom in that sense. And you have like the central point of attack into both red and blue territory would be this upper double bridge, and the same for the lower double bridge for the other team. Now, obviously, like you could go around and smack the stasis chamber and then get access to a third, that like blue's third is down here basically in a way, which is somewhat interesting gameplay wise. I'm still not sure if I'm sold on the idea of basically taking destructible rocks. Like that was in Starcraft 1 from like 2006 or whatever, but probably earlier than that. But still, like, I think it's okay. I wish there was some more like built-in way to do it instead of just placing sprites, or like StarCraft 2 does it with just by placing rocks, and I feel like that's so dumb. Very visually unappealing and not very interesting either. It's just like a stack of health that you have to grind through. It would be more interesting if there was some more skill involved in that. But I guess in this case it's like an opportunity cost to kill it, and you have to, like, you know, maintain vision on it if it's potentially a backdoor to you. It's like, it's another thing to consider, since these two On the like the bottom left and top right-ish, those two chambers are on the high ground. The player that is made more vulnerable by them, blue and purple, they are responsible for kind of watching over that. And like red and teal are more easily able to smack that. That all being said, I mean, it's all well and good that I ended up, you know, changing a bunch of stuff. But for me personally, I feel like, yeah, it was a kind of a flash in the pan. Obviously, this is like, this still has the fucked up thing over here. That was one of the things that I fixed. As you can see, it's fixed over here. I was just showing the before and after because it was humorous to me how much it changed in a short amount of time. But for me, it's like there's like a couple main things that I'm taking away from this as like are obvious flaws with this particular map, and it's that for sure the spacing is off, like the distance between bases, the distance between players. Even if it's a 1v1 map and you start cross positions or something, like it still feels very small. I'm not sure what the map size is of other melee maps. I should definitely be looking at some of those to see what they do that makes them approachable for a wide variety of players, and then try to roll that into my own toolbox. But for right now, no idea about the spacing. Like, if I remove one of the bases, I could then restructure the map so that it has better spacing, but then it has less resources, and I don't want it to have less resources. So trying to juggle those two things is going to be challenging. Obviously, I removed all the rocky ground. I'm sure that will result in proxies out the fucking wazoo and Tesagi and a bunch of other stuff. But we're building it in the assumption that we're playing 2v2s or free-for-alls where you're going to be scouting a lot, hopefully. Like, people are learning to scout now, which is good. And it's meant for our group of friends, really. It's not meant for, like, general play. Although I'm sure if any of these maps ended up getting polished enough, I wouldn't hesitate to release them out. But, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting going into this. So, like, that was the first thing. Spacing was really off. The second thing was SimCity, walling, building, that sort of thing. Just general build space, but also, like, facilitating enough of a base layout for players to be comfortable, as comfortable as I want them to be. The key term, the key notion there. And if they're as comfortable as I want them to be, then that's a general success. So there's that. Something that I've got to keep in mind for now. SimCitying is pretty challenging to do, actually. I don't actually know very much about it. I would need to study the mechanic before I'm able to say whether or not this map does it well, but I'm assuming I've done it very poorly. I actually went and posted this on the Brood War subreddit, which, surprisingly, there are some helpful people over there, which is the only reason I still post stuff there every now and then. And that was mostly because, like, very few people... I think Mesk and DF are the only ones who... Oh yeah, I forgot I gimmicked that one. I think Mesk and DF are the only ones who have actually played melee maps a lot, or know a lot about them, amongst the community, at least to my knowledge. Maybe some other people who are less outspoken are. We used to have Freakling in the server. I don't know if he's still here, but he obviously made a bunch of melee maps. He was one of the testers for Old and Consummate after it had already released. He's made melee maps that get played in the official ladder and stuff, so I think I don't know if his stuff still gets played there, but I know it did for a while. So he would obviously be a wealth of knowledge in this particular case. I'm sure there's some guides out there that I could go and look at as well. But unironically, I'm actually getting to the point where... Oh yeah, Connor would definitely be helpful, but I don't know where he is. I think we missed his yo-yo-yos yesterday, I'm pretty sure. And, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure where he is. Hopefully everything's good with him. At some point, I'm sure he'll pop his head in and tell me what he thinks of the maps. I definitely need to spend a fair bit of time studying up. For me, it's like one of the biggest things about this is, I talked about this in my dad call, but I'm actually really excited to learn more about this and jump in and study a bunch of stuff. Can't promise that I'll be able to make anything good anytime soon, but I have a unique avenue of feedback since so many people are willing to at least try my content, even if it is a melee map, and we have like dedicated times to try that content. It's pretty good in that sense. So I actually have much more of an opportunity than most people in my position who are just basically just starting out, more or less, as far as melee mapping goes. Like I made melee maps 10 years ago or something, and they were all terrible. But I have you guys to give me feedback on the maps and stuff. So that, combined with the fact that every now and then I can go out and find some external sources, either direct feedback from people like on the Brood War subreddit or just resources to learn. Plus, Mesk, DF, Connor. Eventually we'll get some people who are more learned about melee maps to come in and talk. That's going to make it so that I can level up very quickly. And the fact that I'm also just excited to do it in the first place means I'll probably level up very quickly in general. Though I will say, this has led to a revelation where I don't remember if I talked about this in the Dadcot either, but I actually think it would make sense to recommend people who want to improve at making campaign missions. I can't even say newcomers because I'm obviously not a newcomer, and I think this will vastly improve my campaign missions. Making melee maps is actually an avenue where it tests your game knowledge and your level design in ways that are very alien to a campaign designer. And that to me is like really interesting. I think that if you wanted to learn how to make a campaign map, I would first task you with learning how to make a melee map. Because like doing this, I'm realizing like you need a lot of space to build all these production structures. The reason why I almost never had enough build space in my melee maps, or my campaign missions rather, was precisely because you never needed that many production structures to win. You know what I mean? It's not like it was never a requirement to build like 30 gateways, or that's an exaggeration even in Brood War 1v1 pro level melee, but not really in Hydra. Like you'll probably see 30 gateways at some point. And having shit like that, like requiring the ability for enough space to build a lot of stuff, that's stuff I never did before. So I never needed to do it before to win the maps that I was playing, and I never needed it to do it before to I'm actually not sure where that one is. Yeah, I just never needed it in general. So it's really weird looking back. Looking at it now. Like, wow. But this was under my nose the whole time. I could have been practicing melee maps for a while. And yet, here we are. I'm also learning how to use rotational symmetry, which was like a learning curve I didn't even think about. Completely forgot that was a thing. So, that's interesting. But yeah, I actually think if you want to improve level design-wise, making a melee map is not a bad idea in this case. Plus, this is like an undiscovered territory or whatever, nobody in the melee mapping scene has used custom terrain because they're too busy worried about like whether or not Blizzard will accept the map or whatever. I mean, I guess in Remastered now you can't use custom terrain anyway, which is hilariously unfortunate and depressing. And the only reason I say hilariously is because if I didn't laugh, I would cry. But talk about like underexplored avenues, or you know, untapped potential. Like, holy moly. So, I guess that's my spiel, but I'm looking forward to exploring this one. Seeing where we can go from here. This is where my my desire to make a bunch of stuff extra walkable is not paying off because I'm trying to seal off passageways. Yeah, we would all need to play more melee games. Like that's another thing that I think is clear from this. It's like we got to figure that out. Well, you're probably about the same level of skill as I am, if not better, at least in the early game. I haven't really... Like, we haven't played that many games that lasted to the late game, so we can't really say it definitively. But I think it'll improve the fundamentals of my level design a lot, just because you're like, I'm not going to run into situations where, oh shit, you know, sorry man, I realize that you're out of expansions or out of build space in a way that I didn't intend, but you know, there was no way I could have known that. It's like, you know, just like it's so much easier to handle it this way when you're doing it the way that I'm doing it now. What's up, Alexander? Oh, well, that's also true. Still a learning curve to be had. So I'm actually not planning on spending a lot of time on this map today, but... Yeah, your macro cycles are pretty on point in the early game. Well, I still remember you saying you were going to You said something about changing your wallpaper to the new game state or something. But yeah, it's definitely learning curve. Have to be very precise here. That definitely does not seem precise. The fuck? Oh, I guess that's it. Yeah, even bio is very different. And yes, we should be experimenting. I mean, I'm experimenting pretty much every time I play. I'm like throwing out, like my Wraith opener it was psychotic. And I've definitely played it poorly and could have had more Wraiths than I did. And could have also protected my base. I could have transitioned out of that tech at any point. But I didn't. Not only should we be experimenting, but we should be like writing down our findings as well. I tried to note down the build order for my Wraith opener a while ago, but I completely forgot about what that build order actually was in the middle of playing. So I should just like get us maybe like a Wikidot article or something that goes through Hydra builds and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Apparently this mineral field was also stuck making that face. What's up, DF? Check out my melee map. Wondering if the gases should be on the side over here or something. Thinking. There's a lot of bases that just feel awkward. In fact, I think most of the bases feel awkward. The only bases that feel okay are the mains and the left and right naturals. Like over here and over here. Oh, I actually forgot to add 2 more mineral fields over here. Well, right now I'm thinking it probably should be intended, just so that we have like an even playing field. But I think what I'm probably going to do, because I really don't like the way that this looks, is I'm probably going to make the mineral fields symmetrically annoying, is how I described it. Where you'll see, like, if the naturals look fucked up for one player, they're gonna look fucked up for all players in the same way or similar enough ways. Yeah, I was just throwing this together as a melee map, right? But I don't think I'm really... for one, I'm struggling to come up with ways to refine this concept without hacking it apart some more and removing even more of what made the map interesting to me to begin with, which was the coastal snow. Like, I guess I could rework the area where there's the compound cliff edges over here on the low ground. I could rework that into something more interesting. I could push the water further to over in this direction by a few tiles and rework the outpost corners as a result, and then give this area, like, give the outpost less build space and this area more build space, plus just a less awkward layout. And I could probably rework the ramps over here on the north and south. But even with all that said, like, I don't know that it would be significantly better. I might still end up fucking around with that as an experiment, but I'm feeling more like I want to try my hand at making a different map. I had the idea to make a 3-player FFA style, well, a 3-player map anyway, a map with 3 starting locations. Yeah, that's probably a nice loose guideline to follow, or a guideline to follow loosely. Something like that. At least for mains. Maybe mains and naturals, and then after that it can go whatever. I think that gas should probably always be... I want to say optimally placed, but that would involve them always being placed on to the north and or left. Like north or west. Because if you mine it from the right or from the south, they... I think it's... Yeah, pretty sure that's the case. You actually mine slower, which is pretty psychotic. But, whatever. I think the gas should always be placed at least as close to as possible in like a straight line or something. On one of the cardinal directions. Because worker pathing gets fucked up otherwise. I guess that wasn't symmetrical. Yeah. Well, I'm not saying I'm never having gas on the bottom or gas in an area where it's not ideal. I just mean like I prefer if you're going to go with some sort of symmetry, I prefer to go with that symmetry with the resources as well, which means not putting the gas in the top just in every base just because it's easier to harvest that way or more optimal or whatever. I've seen a lot of melee maps that do that, which triggers me mostly. Okay. Well, at this point, somebody said something about tank holes or Unfortunately, one of the guys who gave me in-depth feedback said something about the thirds being accessible to drops. I guess he's talking about this, the compound stuff. But I don't think he realized that, like, it's balanced in, like, it's rotational symmetry, but across 2 dimensions or something. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like north and south are rotational, symmetrical, and east and west are symmetrical. And that's how I designed the map. So it's like the north and south mains are symmetrical. The east and west mains are symmetrical. That was actually something that he complained about. He was like, I just noticed how different the spawning bases are. All 4 of them should look the same or at least function the same way. I don't agree with that, but that's probably like deep, like, again, the idea of standard melee map for people. I'm actually not sure. Like, has that ever been attempted in a map that made it to professional play? Have the mains and naturals ever been done in a way like similar to this, where you have symmetry that's like that? I feel like I've seen maps that are like that, but I can't remember. I don't remember any of their names. That's for sure. It really doesn't help that all the water is placed manually, man. Fuck. Also, I guess this isn't perfectly symmetrical. I don't know what I did here or what, but... Anyway, that's that. We're taking a break for now. I'll come back to that later. Now, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to do this. All right, so our objective is to pseudocode translate this function. So I'm guessing I have to find the fuck, where is it? I guess it would be in here. Oh no. Programming. Here. Up for more tests today, by the way. Alright. Yeah, I'm up for more tests too. So if we get enough people interested. So I see calls to it. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I think Iker also gave me some pseudocode at some point. Yeah, Connor's usually awake at these hours. I don't know where he is today. Yeah, then he's probably fine. Alright, so let's take a look here. It looks like... Oh yeah, well that phenomenon is not lost on me. Can't see half of this shit because of the instructions are black for some reason. Alright. Well, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm looking at on the right iQuare's example code, pseudocode that he wrote from assembly instructions. And on the left is a function I have to do the same thing. Yeah, it's because I have like a dark background, basically. It's not really what I'm looking for. I'm trying to figure out, like, I need a list of commands. I guess that would be like a glossary or something. Oh, nice. Good job, Veek. You figured it out. Assembler has different versions. Different versions, yeah. Well, I'm just trying to figure out, like, obviously all these commands that are in here, push, pop, move, test, call, jump, or whatever. CMP, I don't know what CMP is, but most of the stuff like seems fairly straightforward. I just don't know what the actual syntax is. So JE short. I guess that means jump something. So it looks like every time... Oh, okay, I see what's happening here. So at least that's something that I can start. I don't actually have... This calls a different function entirely. So now I'll look this up in Nave's list. I thought that there would be like a list of functions somewhere, but... Alright, it looks like I found a list on Wikipedia. Let's see if this is accurate. This is in x86 though. I wonder if I should be looking at a version from before. Oops. Open up my calculator for no reason.
Is that a fucking crow? Ah!
Oh, thanks. Pad my numbers. Oh, I see. How come you're on Twitch, keeping me alive? You really are padding my numbers. All right, let me take a look at the documentation here. Oh, okay. So CMP is compare then. So this compares ESI. Oh, JE jump if equal, okay. Wait, what? Where does it set ZF flag? I don't even know what ZF is. How's it setting a flag? Oh, I guess it's setting a okay. Hold on. All right, so in this case we're comparing I guess we're comparing it to just a value of 5? Okay. Oh, sorry to hear that. Hopefully Twitch is treating you better anyway. I am, Alright. It's okay. We're definitely out of our depth, but I'll piece it together. This was helpful looking at this here. It's actually an explanation of what these commands are doing, So JE short, jump if equal, if flag is set, right? So you got it. After I'm through with this, I'll ping people, see if they're interested. Alright, do I still have the looking for testers thing? I do. That's nice. Take that off. Wait, is this... Oh, okay. So in this case, it's ESI equals EAX. So I guess this means EVP equals ESP. EDI equals EAX. So this is EPB plus 8. This is where we're going to get into some confusing territory. Let me make sure that this is right. That does not seem correct. Hold on. So in this case so a move is basically writing data. So EAX plus 64. But that's not what this is, right? There is no plus 64 anywhere. 8 BEC. Oh. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Are these... No, I don't know what the fuck those are. I don't know what pop means. Let me see what that is. Pop. Do we have any pops in here? No. It's pop data from stat. I'm assuming this just clears it. comparing EAX to itself? I guess this is comparing EAX to 0. NZ. I don't know what that condition is. Oh, non-zero. Oh, okay. Interesting. My mind is expanding. I don't actually know what pop means, though. Clear? Does it mean pop out? Like, remove from the stack, but keep in memory? Stack is a section of RAM. There are registers inside the CPU to point to it. Register used to access the stack. Stack point register, so that would be like EAX, ESI. Okay, storing operation of a CPU register in the stack is known as a push. Getting contents from the stack back into a CPU register is called a pop. Popping the contents of the stack back into a given register is the opposite of the process of pushing. 8051 stack pointer. Use the location of the stack. When push is executed, the contents of the register are saved onto the stack, and the stack pointer is incremented by 1. Oh, so every time I'm pushing and then I'm popping, I'm undoing the push that just happened. In theory? There's no push and pop in iQuery's stuff unless they just removed it or whatever, but... Okay. In that case... See, the only thing that's throwing me off is, like, I actually, since I don't know what assembly is yet, I'm still learning. When I have shit like this, I'm not sure if this, is this like a register address? Or a stack address, rather? That they want to move data from? Like, move EAX data from this stack address to ESI? Or is it just move any EAX? Like, I'm not actually sure what the fuck that means. Right, yeah. So you're like, it's like saving a file and then accessing it again, basically. It's like saving data and accessing it again. Saving it is push, pop is accessing it. So it's not clearing like I thought, erroneously. Hey, I found JNZ in here. Alright, hold on. Back here. Return from near procedure. So that's what retn is. So return from near procedure means something, I don't know. I'm not sure why it accepts a value of 0C in this case. It's returning 12, but I don't know why it's returning 12. And I don't know where it's returning 12 in the first place. So this function is AI train unit, but why would it be returning 12? So arg1 unit ID, arg2 AI request type, arg3 void value. So EAX in this case is the unit, according to this. Or at least one function of it is? Like, there's one part of it is unit and the other part is the parent, which I assume is like the owner or something? Or no. Unit parent. So parent, it refers to the unit, like value refers to void. And so when we have EAX here, we're comparing... We're copying the data from EAX into EDI, and then copying the data from EDI to EDX. I guess so that we can... No, never mind. EDX is never shows up again. We're retrieving EDI later, but we don't pop... we don't pop EDX ever. So, like, EDX only shows up to be copied over again. Why is it copied over from the... from that, then? What is EBP? EBP is ESP. ESP is never used again. What the fuck? I'm lost already. Hold on. Is ESP even a register? I thought there's like 6 registers. If I open up Aldi debug as a reference. thought there was only 6. I could be completely wrong about that one. Oh, there's 8 or something. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. ESP is a register. Okay. Maybe this will give me more immediate understanding of what the hell's happening here. So first, we copy data from ESP to EBP. And then we, well, I guess first we load EBP, or save EBP, save ESI, save EDI. But before we save any of that, we're copying ESP to EBP. And we're not actually loading those into memory, though. We're not putting those onto the stack. We're just copying over that value. And then EAX is EAX is copied over EDI. So EDI is in the stack. The old value of EDI is in the stack. And then the new value is EAX, which, according to our argument from Nave's request log, EAX is the unit. So EDI and EAX are both the unit ID. And now EDI is copied over to EDX, even though we just copied EAX over to EDI. Why wouldn't we just copy EAX over to both? I'm not sure how that's working. Maybe I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I don't know what it is. Then we call another function, which I don't know about. And then EAX is copied over to ESI. So again, unit ID is copied over to 3 separate registers now. And then it compares the unit ID to 5, to the value of 5. And if it's equal to 5, it jumps down to here. Right, block 1 is over here somewhere. Starts with pop EDI. So then we pull the original value of EDI out, and we compare EAX to 0. And if it's, or we pop ESI and EBP, we retrieve all those as well, and then we return 12. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck this is. Like, what is it? What even is this doing? Well, this is instruction from the game. So they're copying EAX over EDI with the move command. And then they're copying EDI to EDX. And so on and so forth. They're copying all this shit, but I'm not sure what they're doing with it. It doesn't look like they're doing anything with it in this function. It could be that they're doing something with it later. But I'm wondering why they don't... Like, why are they copying EAX over to EDI, then EDI over to EDX, and then later EAX over to ESI? Like, they're copying EAX indirectly and directly, a combined total of 3 times, and I'm not really sure why they're doing that. Anyway, I really got a piece. I'll be right back. But if you can explain that one to me, that would be epic. Otherwise, I'll just continue smashing my head against the wall. They're using that stuff in call. They are? Call is like a function call, but you have to pass args by registers, and then also if function is returning something. Well, how do you know they're using this stuff in the call? Is that, I mean, this is where they're calling, but are they, is this instruction right here an E8B2F6FFFF? Is that data that they're ripping from here? Like, I don't even know what that means. Do I understand what pushing to stack? Yeah, I was just learning over that. I'll give you my explanation. You can tell me if I'm wrong or incomplete. So if you push to a stack, you're saving data, and if you pop from the stack, or if you push a register to a stack and then pop that register, you're recalling the data that you saved when you pushed it. So pushing saves it, pop recovers it. Retrieves it from the stack. And the register is like an address for the data. Second column is instructions. Oh, so this is just a copy of the assembly stuff then. So I don't actually have to pay attention to this. I thought I was supposed to be using the data here or something. Third is just instruction, okay. I figured there was something more to that, but I guess not. Also, I don't know what the fuck that sound was. Don't ask me. Well, iQuery's here now, so all my questions will be answered. So my explanation of pushing and popping was accurate then? So here's my question is, like, basically I've got two things that I'm getting stuck up on. I'm not really understanding why they're copying EAX to EDI, and then EDI, which is EAX, to EDX, and then EAX to ESI again. Now Veek says they're using it in this function that they're calling. But why do they need the same, like, I guess it doesn't really matter, but I would expect them to just move EDX EAX instead of moving EDI EAX. And then EDX EDI. Like this seems like, so like if you changed this to EAX instead of EDI, then it would be the same thing, but it would at least be their same original source. So that just threw me off. So maybe that's fine actually. And so then they need the unit ID or whatever that is from, well, up here it says EAX is unit, and then parent. I assume parent is unit ID. Yeah, they're reassigning the registers to be the value of EAX though, and then ESI also gets set to EAX. And I'm just wondering why they need 3 different registers to be the unit ID. Well, 3 different registers and EAX. They need EDI, EDX, and ESI to all be the same value of EAX, and I'm not really sure why they do that. Test instructions? Test is comparison. So in this case, if you, like, I wrote down here where it says test EAX, EAX, I said compare EAX to 0. That was just a guess, because earlier in your explanation that I have saved here, I have like all of your messages in a text file, and there was a ZOR EAX, EAX sets EAX to 0. It's the same as move EAX 0, but ZOR EAX, EAX is shorter, quicker. I assume that means that if you're comparing two things like that, you're also you're just comparing them to 0, the value of it to 0. But I'm not sure. Like, that could be just a mistake on my part. I know ZOR EAX, EAX is 0. It's setting it to 0. But in this case, I thought that they were doing that because they also have a jump if not 0 over here. So that's why I figured that makes sense, is like... Right, so in this case we're testing EAX, EAX in this instruction, and then the next one is jump if not 0. Right, yeah, compared to... Okay, so I was right. Yeah, that was just... that was like part inductive reasoning and part guessing, so glad it ended up being good. Okay. So they're fucking with registers over here, reassigning registers so that they can use it, presumably in this get empty builds queue slot call. So when I see this like second column right over here that has all these symbols, when it has this backslash end brace or end bracket or whatever that is. I guess that would be a angled bracket. And up here, like slash $sign is start of function, and I guess this is end of function. Int3 and nop are empty space, okay. But over here, like, this is a function then. Alright. So basically, if it's a blank thing over here, it's probably not actually any code worth looking at. Like, if there's no symbol, it's an empty space. Right, yeah. No, I know that much. So now we need to... Basically what I need to do is I need to translate these more complicated move commands, or move things. All of these ones down here, and then the one up here. So as I understand from the carrier example that you gave me in here, there is an example of that where it's like the very first command. It moves to the lower bytes of the EAX register. Word pointer DS EAX plus 64. So in this case, it's when it's D word. I know that means it's like up to 65535, doesn't it? It's like unsigned something. Yeah, in this case we're returning 12, so I don't actually know what that means. That was my other question. I'm like my two main hiccups now are figuring out what the fuck is happening in these move commands, and then why we're returning 12. Oh, this is a bigger function. I don't know if you've already translated these functions. Right. So why then... What is the utility of returning 12 here? You said return 4 indicates that the function is one stack argument, return 12 is 3 arguments. Return with no number means there's no stack arguments. Function has different outcomes depending on conditions, so you have multiple returns of the functions. Okay, so this is basically like we've got 3 arguments in this particular function, so they're noting that in the return. And so it's divisible by 4, so if it's like return 8, that's 2 functions. Or 2 arguments, rather. So then... Oops. So then we just return. That would be the main thing. Return 12. And it would be fine that way. We don't have to do anything else. I thought that they were supposed to be like returning to a specific area, but I guess not, because we're just... So this is like pointer SS. I don't know what the SS stands for. Let's see if we can find that one out. Keyword PTR. Keyword PTR is a size directive. Size of the target operand is 32 bits. This will bitwise and the 32-bit value at the address computed by taking contents of the EBP register and subtracting it 4 with 0. So in this case, we are comparing the EBP register, which we copied over with ESP, which doesn't actually have an origin point. So I don't know what ESP is in that context. So this is a 4-byte comparison. We're adding 8. So EAX equals EBP plus 8. But I don't know what the EBP register is. Now I don't know what precursor is. If you're talking about the original, like the demo campaign or whatever, if you're just using it as a way to improve your map making skills, sure, but I would prefer everybody do their own work, generally speaking. If it's not just an exercise to improve yourself. Also, hi, how are you? Twelve is 4 arguments. There's only 3 arguments here, unless EAX unit is supposed to be an argument. I don't think it is. And it is, yeah, it's return 0C, which is return 12. So, I mean, I can say return 0C instead, but I was transcoding it into decimal. So I guess that was my fault. EBP plus 8 is ARG1. How did you know it was ARG1? Like, how did you know EBP was ARG1 in that sense? EBP is always first value in stack. EBP plus 8 and EBP plus C is second value. Okay. So EBP plus C would be second value, which is comparing AI request type. Now CL, there is no CL in here. So where is it? What is CL? Is that a register? I assume those are like lower bytes of a register, but I don't even see any CL. I see EAX, ECX. I don't see anything that includes CL. So I'm wondering what that is. So here we have EAX equals EDI plus 134, but I gotta figure out what that is. EDI is the last register here, so... Oh, okay. So I just need to learn what the registers are in a very extreme detail for this then. I'll look up a reference sheet for registers, and then that'll be my next move. Now in this case it says move byte. Is that a register? I don't think so, right? Like in here we're not even moving this shit into anything. Oh, no, never mind. So this byte is arithmetic, it looks like. It's EAX plus EACI, ESI rather, plus 9. What? So the byte combination of that is now overwritten by CL? Oh, if you already have a write-up for it, then I'll search it up. They're assigning byte values to CL. Oh, yeah. I see it right here. I'll pin it and then copy it. Alright. Can reference that later. I thought move was holy shit. How many move commands are there? So it's copying data from one area to another. I thought that meant that the first register or first entry was getting copied over by the second entry. So move EBP ESP would copy ESP over onto EBP. Is it the other way around, where the first one gets copied over to the second one? So the first one is the source and the second one is the target? You didn't have any moves in here that weren't just like moving a register to 1, but that's what I mean, is like if we're setting EAX to 1 here, then the source would be EAX. So that should be it. So why would they have a byte be the source? They're overriding both EAX and ESI with the value of CL in that case. BP plus C is second value. No, that's correct. EDX gets signed. Yeah. So that was my original assumption as well. So then I'm wondering what even is getting assigned by this. You said that they're assigning byte values to CL. But then shouldn't CL be the target? It should be move CL, comma, and then this byte. Shouldn't they be flipped? That's what I was confused about. Oh, it's assigning CL to EAX plus ESI plus 9. Okay, so, alright. So that makes sense. So then we need to figure out what EAX plus ESI plus 9 are. Whatever this turns into. Like, we have to figure out what that is.
Let's get scratching.
And then there's this value over here. Alright, so pointer is assigned by pointer, or assigns value by pointer. Right. So there's byte, word, and dword. I know that much. Byte would be 1 byte. So this value is 1 byte. And then dword is 4 byte. Which makes sense because they're multiplying by 4 and adding 18, but I don't know what the fuck they're doing. So in this case, I'm trying to like figure out an example over here of something that happens. You have move ZX. I've never even seen that one before. Move with 0 extension. I don't know what that means. Okay. No. Of course not. Listen, I am a baby learning this for the first time. Oh, hold on. So when there's something in brackets like this, this is a value in memory that the location is, or this is a memory location that EDI plus 134, like that's a memory location. And so we're taking that value, the value that's at that memory location, and assigning it to EAX in this particular instruction. Whereas in this particular instruction, we're assigning CL to the memory location. The location in memory. Like the value that's in there. When you assign by pointer, you don't change the pointer, you change the value pointed by the pointer. Yeah. Okay. That was easy enough to understand. So we just need to figure out what these values actually are then. Now, you said something about looking at a GPTP for some of this stuff. Zero x134 is unit AI. Okay. Unit AI, as in like the AI type, like military, guard, something like that, or Nave has info on all data structures. Is that in his list here? I know EAX is unit asterisk parent, but I don't know what the fuck that means. I don't know what the asterisk parent is. Make my pseudocode much more complete. Yeah, that's what I would like it to be. So this is unit AI type. EAX is unit pointer. Yeah. Well, that's what EAX points to, but this is EDI, not EAX. EAX doesn't have +134. EDI does. Is that still unit AI type? Where do you see that? Like, register plus value equals this. EDI is assigned somewhere to EAX. Oh yeah, up here. Okay. And then we're overwriting EAX with the yeah, okay. All right, I get it now. I get this one now. So let me take down some notes here. I guess that's the third argument. Yeah. Find the unit AI data structure in Nave's doc. But wait, are you talking about this? Or is there another document I don't have? Because this does not have anything like that, I don't think. So EBP plus 10 would be value. Oh, there's a whole bunch of shit down here. Okay. So, EDI plus 134 is unit AI type. I'm not sure how... I don't see any reference of 134 in here, so I don't know how I would get here. But now that I am here, unit AI next, unit AI previous, byte type. But there's no byte type, it's just EDI plus 134, for now anyway. So then do we end up writing EAX anywhere else? We do end up writing CL. Oh, did I need to search again? I didn't say it was... Well, if I did say it was unit AI type, that's not what I meant. Pointer to unit AI structure. Yeah, we eventually combine EAX with ESI and add 9, and that's overwritten by CL, which is AI request type, which we know because EBP plus C is the second argument. And eventually EAX is set to 1. Let's find out what is ESI. ESI is pushed onto stack at the beginning, and then it's cloned over by EAX, which is also unit. So EDX is now the unit AI type pointer. I guess so. Unit AI. So then we end up having stuff like, so ESI is now the unit plus 9. So we have EAX value at unit AI. Excuse me. Operation after call. Oh, okay. So then I have to go into empty build slot and find... Yeah, EAX is overwritten by EDX plus A4. I don't think... So EDX is EDI and EDI is EAX. So in this case it's unit plus A4. It returns... it sets EAX to 5. I assume this stands for increment. Yeah. I assume this is 228 is the unit limit, so the number of unique unit IDs. Oh, it's compare value to. Cool. I'm not sure what JB means. I know it's a jump of some kind. I know jump equal, jump non-zero. Jump if value is below. Oh, okay. I still don't know what move with zero extension is. Like, what's the difference between that and a regular move? What is a zero extension in this case? It's definitely a lot of an information barrier I've got to learn over here. All right, so in this particular case, I didn't completely write the pseudocode for this. I still don't know what the fuck this does. And I might have this wrong, but in this case, EDX is unit. So unit plus unit? What the fuck? Lives train queue from 0 to 4 and finds an empty slot. It has some safety check in it to not add the unit if the ID is greater than 228 though, for some reason. Unless this is unrelated. Well, it looks like it does do some calculations to EAX. So EAX might not be what I think it is in this at this point. It then writes ESI to EAX. And ESI becomes what, the slot of the unit? Yeah, I'm just wondering why there's a check for the max unit ID in the middle of a function that's supposed to be getting the empty build queue slots. I don't know why that's there. I still got a lot to learn with this, man. Holy moly. Well. Not that I expected much else. Some hardcode Mongolism? Okay. As long as it's not surprising, I guess. So it's not Mongolism, are you sure? Used for empty values. Well, I don't even know what they're actually comparing, because I don't know what EDX plus EAX times 2 plus 98 is, so... Oh. Okay. Weird. Oops. What did I just do? Fuck. Idiot. Oh yeah, I definitely understand it better now. Holy shit, man. I mean, I'm actually trying to learn it now, instead of just, like, looking at it and seeing a bunch of math and symbols I don't understand. But I'm still, like, I basically, like, all the things that you're telling me, I want to be able to figure out how you figured those out. And that's where I'm lost right now. Like, when you were telling me that, where is it? It's down here. EDI plus 134 is unit AI from Nave. Like, I don't know how you got that. I don't know where you found that information. I want to be able to figure that stuff out too, so that I don't have to bother. Like, the idea is, once I understand what I'm doing with assembly, I should be able to write all the pseudocode and then hand it to you, and it can be, you can, like, trust that I'm doing it intelligently and correctly and checking it and making sure that everything's good. And that way I can help you out. It's just that until I figure out what the fuck I'm doing, you're just gonna have to help me. Pretty much. until then. So, I mean, obviously, I'll do my best to self-educate, but it's a brave new world for me, for sure. I found this old example that you gave me a while ago from our same race back in Toddborn development, but unfortunately it doesn't have very many of the functions or commands that are used here. Like push and pop, I was like, what the fuck? And I had to look up those. That's fun. More complete knowledge now. Yeah, I remember that too. Alright, so what's missing from my understanding here? These two move commands are missing. I'm missing that. Now, EDI plus 134, again, I have no idea how you figured that one out, but you've said that it was a pointer to this, but I don't know what it's reading from here. Like, this is a pointer, but I don't know... It doesn't seem like there's an offset. It says plus 134, which in X is 308. But I don't know what that means. Like, or I guess that's EDI plus 134. That's a pointer to the unit AI. So we just forget about the plus 134. That's fine. So that's irrelevant. But what we do need to figure out is like what is it doing here? I guess it's copying the unit AI value or the. What it's doing is it's taking the value stored in the unit AI type pointer and assigning that to EAX. So now we have that assigned to EAX. And then we're taking the AI request type and assigning that to CL. And then we're taking the third argument, the value, which I guess is like number of units. I'm not sure. I don't know what value means in that sense. But we're taking that and we're assigning that to EDX. Well, we're taking value plus... Oh yeah, no, that's value. So value is being assigned to EDX. So now EAX is the unit AI type, CL is the AI request type, and EDX is the value. So we have the three functions from or three arguments from our functions. And then that's when things get a lot more fucking confusing for me. So then we're taking the AI request type and we're assigning the value of the AI request type to whatever this is, this operation here, which is unit AI plus ESI plus 9. Now, ESI is what we were trying to figure out earlier. ESI is... It's EAX after this call, this get empty build slot. So... Now, this is guesswork, but I don't really know how to test this because I don't really know how to read this stuff yet. But I'm expecting what's happening here is when they're assigning EAX to ESI, which I just forgot about where that was. Okay, right here. They are picking... They're basically... I assume EAX in this case, when it's being assigned to ESI, is the slot number. Because if the ESI is 5, right, we jump down here, which returns pretty quickly, actually. It doesn't seem to do anything. I mean, it does stuff, but it doesn't seem to do much. It sets EAX to 0. It like clears a bunch of data, retrieves data from the stack, and then returns. and does nothing. So I assume this is because the queue is full, basically. So now we know that we're taking the build slot, the queue slot, assuming ESI is the queue slot. We're adding the queue slot to EAX, which is the unit AI type, and we're adding +9. We're taking all those together, and we're whatever value that ends up being, because this is a pointer, whatever value that ends up being at the address of unit AI type plus unit Q slot +9 is getting replaced with CL. I have no fucking clue how to figure out what that value actually is. So in this case, it's not unit, it's a Q slot. Yeah, well, even this is a pointer, right? If it's surrounded by brackets, it's a pointer. That's my understanding of it. So we have, in this case, we have unit AI type. Yeah, it's a value of the pointer. What the fuck is the pointer pointing to if not the unit AI type? So it's pointing to this, which is like a location of memory, right? I'm not saying it's like military or guard. I just mean like it's... Well, it's not very obvious to me, man. I don't even know what it means to be only used as a pointer. Why are we writing a pointer into memory? Or overwriting a pointer with other information? We're using this is a memory offset of some kind, and so is this. But I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know how to figure that out. Building AI is down here. Now, what I was expecting is this stuff... Well, how do you know it's a pointer to builder AI? Or building AI? I was expecting that we would get these flags or these 0x whatever values passed on to the pointer. So that the game would know, like, oh, get the value at this offset or whatever, but... That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I don't know how that happens. It doesn't seem like that's what's happening at all. Like, I'm not seeing it passing 0x00 or 0x04. Yeah, there's some failure to communicate here. Failure for me to understand what's happening. Okay. Well, I will remain confused. I'm just wondering what this is, like, how... What is the value of taking unit AI, a pointer to unit AI, and loading it into a register? It's like, I guess for me in my head, like my biggest problem right now is that I'm failing to understand the connection between using something like say I get like a register and I get a pointer, but I don't understand when you're like adding the value of a pointer to the value of a register to some other value that you just write in like +9 or ×4 +18, and then I don't know how to even look at the sum of that. First, I don't know how to calculate the sum of that, and even if I did know what the sum of it was, I wouldn't know how to find the value of what that sum actually is and then overwrite that with CL or EDX in these two lower cases here. These for these areas here. That's probably the most confusing bit about this whole thing for me. At this point, like that's the most confusing bit, is like, because the pointer, right, is at once something that you can perform a mathematical operation on and something that you're using just to as a reference data. I guess there's like some mix-up where I'm assuming that because you're performing arithmetic with a pointer, I'm treating it as if it's like two separate things at once, where it's something you can perform arithmetic with and something else entirely that you just use for a reference. When I imagine, obviously, it's all the same thing, but I'm not really sure how those two things are there together. So I'm still trying to figure that one out. Let's do some more research on that. Reading a value from or storing a value into that memory location rather than reading the value directly. So basically, like pointer, when you're doing mathematical operations or when you're doing move operations or mathematical operations with pointers, you're dereferencing the data and taking that data from the location of where it currently is and assigning it somewhere else, or vice versa if it's the other way around. You're writing data to the value of a pointer. So a pointer is just a place in memory, and you're either referencing or dereferencing data depending on if you're writing to it or taking from it, and taking the data from it and writing it to somewhere else. So I guess it's like, pointers are kind of like variables? Pointer is more of a type that allows you to store address and access its value more than anything else. Try to look at bracket notation as accessing value located at address stored in registry. Right. So it's like it's sort of like a variable then, where you're I mean, it's a variable, but it's not like the variable can be defined as anything. Well, I guess you could define the memory in the pointer as anything, but it's like a variable that refers to a very specific area, right? It's not like you can just declare any variable to be any pointer. It's like you're talking about a pointer in game memory. So it's a fixed variable that you can only read or write, but you can't change what it defines. It would be like you can't change the name of the variable, basically, is like, I guess, a way to look at it. I'm trying to like draw a comparison to something that I'm more familiar with. So in that sense, we have a pointer that is, in this case, a pointer to unit AI. Again, I have no idea how Icar figured out that this was the case. That's not in the reference sheet that he sent me. So but whatever. We know that the pointer is unit AI and it's being written to EAX. So the data from unit AI is being written to this register. Okay. And then the data from AI request type is being dereferenced and written into the lower byte of CL, which is something else. I forget. CL is ECX lower byte register. Okay. Yeah, I'll ask him more explicitly later on. Okay, so the unit AI in this particular case is or rather okay, so I know what these two are doing. And then I kind of always understood this, though. It's like you're taking the you're taking this pointer here, which is like over here the pointer is unit AI, and over here the pointer is AI request type, and down here the pointer is the value of the third argument, and you're assigning it to various registers or subregisters, and like then you're taking the subregister value of AI request type. What is EDX at this point anyway? Is void value. And you're assigning that data to whatever this is, but these are like multiple pointers is what I'm getting. Oh, you're back pretty quick. Yeah, I'm wondering how you figured that out. That's why I'm confused. So EAX plus ESI is building AI, and then 0x9 is what is being taken. In this case, it's byte train queue types, AI spend request type. So I guess it's train queue type equals AI request type, and then EAX plus E. So okay, if that's correct, right, and 0x9 is that. How do I find what the value of this pointer is of EAX plus ESI? So we know EAX is unit AI, and ESI is, I guess this is also building AI? Because EAX plus ESI was building AI back here? Yeah, request type to queue of AI, which makes sense. And then we're assigning value. I assume this is like the number of requests to make or something. But if this is building AI, then 4 plus 18... Well, we're multiplying ESI by 4 and then adding 18. Unless this is non-scientific. Is this procedural or scientific, the way that the arithmetic works in this? Like procedural being, it just goes from left to right. Regardless of what kind of operator or operation is happening. Because in this case, we would be taking the military AI and just multiplying it by 4 or something. Or building AI and multiplying it by 4, which doesn't make any sense because it's a pointer anyway, so that doesn't make any sense to me at all. Times 4 plus 18, I don't know what that means. Building AI train queue types. What, over here? So maybe times 4 is actually the value then? Because EDX is the third argument, but I don't know. Does the asterisk mean something different than multiply in assembly? It must. It must mean something different. What do you mean? What is void value? It's up here. Arg3 void value. EAX unit parent. It's the third argument of AI train unit. See? This is the function you told me to write pseudocode for. Pointer that can point to different types of values. I thought it would be the value, like the number of units that are being requested by the AI. But based on context, I don't know if that's accurate. I still don't know what what asterisk 4 plus 18. Plus 18 is clearly arithmetic. I thought times 4 was the asterisk 4 was times 4, but maybe it's not. Maybe 4 plus 18 means something completely different in this case. It's 24 in decimal, but I guess I should rename these to SC3 so I can read them easier. How do we confirm that it is region pointer? How would we look that information up? Veek said that you probably used Ollie debug to find out that EDI plus 134 is unit AI, but I still don't know about that one. Yeah, but like, okay, so in this case, it's like learning what the environment is like. So it's like you can know C++, but you would still have to learn the environment of GPTP. So you know like what the data structure is or whatever. So that's like the rote memorization shit where you just have to keep it to memory. I guess that means I should probably write that shit down in my ASM notes. So I have what, Veek, learning like how to, like just learning by trial and error what shit does or what shit is. Use regions in your Q code in A's and it calls AI train unit function. So this would be region. But is it a region value, like number Region number, region ID, region state. Oh, region pointer. AI region. But is there a region pointer down here? But we're not really like applying a math operation to this, so it's not like we're doing EDX plus whatever so that we can figure out like, oh, region, target region, player, state. Like we're not figuring out any of this information. So, very confused. Oh, excuse me. I'm still really stuck on this, but like I still don't know what this is or how to find out the value of this. Building AI times 4 plus 18. We're now pointing to a region. I don't even know if this is really the last thing that I need to figure out, though, so, like... EVP, I don't know what EVP is in this context. Like, in this case, EDI equals... I don't even know if unit times parent is the... Is this the unit ID? If I had to guess. No, it's not unit ID because it's something else. It's whatever unit times parent is. Okay. So we know EDI is and oh. This also calls get empty build slot? What the fuck? Wait, why does it call it twice? Obviously it jumps if the Q slot is equal to 5, so it doesn't call it a second time over here. But when it calls prepare build unit, it also, that function calls this. What a disaster. What is this? Check resources and wow, this function gets called a million times. Oh, it's pretty big. No. We didn't get that very long. Or we didn't last very long in the maps. The matches. They were all over pretty quick. I've seen those being used before. I've used those before. Oh yeah, I have to look up what that does. I don't know what EBP -4 is. think EDX I saw a definition for earlier, but I don't know. All right, well, I've first drafted the pseudocode for this function so that I can continue writing the other function. In this case, right after that, we're comparing EAX to 0. So I still don't really know what all happens in this particular case, but I do need to find EAX. First, we compare it to 5. I don't think we're ever writing EAX to some... Oh. We are setting it to 0 in certain situations. Otherwise, we set it to the unit ID. And then later on, we do set it to something else. Whatever the value is of EDI plus 4C. And then we shift it left by 2. And do some calculations with that, and then we set it back to 1. So it's either 0 or 1 by the end of these functions. I assume if it's 0, that means that it's a failure, it's returning false. And if it is 0, it will return this function as false, presumably. I don't know why they're setting it to 0 again. If it's already 0, it must be some weird... It's probably some like machine shit or something, the compiler inlining nonsense. Something related to that, not obviously saying that that was inlined. I know that much. Then EAX is this. So otherwise it will jump to block 2. And in block 2 we once again have EAX being overwritten. Okay. Alright, so we now know that that seems okay. I still don't know what EAX actually is in this. It's still a unit, right? It's unit parent. Well, I don't think it is after a certain point. It's a Q slot. And then it's unit ID. Compare unit ID to 0. After prepare build unit. Well, that doesn't make any sense. It wouldn't still be unit ID. Do we ever pop EAX? We push it to stack, but we don't pop it? Do we pop EAX in the prepare build unit thing? No, certainly not towards the end, but no, not at all. Why do we push it to stack? In fact, I imagine if you push something twice, you actually overwrite the original value of it. So if we ever push EAX in here, that would be the same degree of issue. But it doesn't look like we do that here either. So we just leave it in memory, but we don't actually act on it for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, we push unit ID to stack, so there's that. I don't know what EDI, ESI, or EBP are at the beginning of this. Whatever those values are, we save in memory, and then we at least pop EDI. Oh, we pop all of them back, so I guess that's like returning to their earlier values. Okay. I think that's probably like a very commonplace operation in general, because what it's probably doing is saying like, all right, whatever data I currently have, save it, perform calculations using those registers, and then return them to normal. Cleaning it up so that it was the same exact way as you found them. Beyond whatever needed to be messed around with, so I guess that makes sense. Well, I definitely feel more armed with knowledge now than I did before at the beginning of the stream, so there is that, but I wanted to finish this whole function today, and instead I haven't been able to do that. Epic. I wish this is one of those days where I could just like work on Starcraft stuff for day in, day out. I'll try to like listen to some programming breakdowns of assembly and stuff while I'm at work today. Use this time wisely. Tomorrow and the day after, I'll have more time, so. Huh. Epic. Epic indeed. If only my function could be as basic as this one. What's up, Bailithal? Want to help me understand assembly? I'm trying to write it into pseudocode. Well, so far I'm definitely better versed on it, but I'm trying to figure out. So I guess EAX plus ESI is building AI, and I'm trying to figure out if asterisk 4 plus 18 is multiplying building AI, the value in the pointer of building AI by 4, and adding 18, or if you're doing that in the first place to get to the pointer. And like the value at that particular address is what's being replaced. And in that case, I have no clue what to do about that. I guess. So the plus 18 part makes sense to me because there's a 0x18 offset of building AI of the pointer that's void train q relatives 0x5. So, like, in theory, that would be it, but I don't know what the times 4 is. Yeah, I'm just taking assembly and writing it into some other code, but it's equally as frustrating, I think. Yeah, I just don't understand why the times 4, because plus 18 makes sense in building AI. 0x18 is an address. As you can see here, it's the memory offset or whatever is. It means void asterisk train q relatives 0x5. And we think that void value, which is the third argument, we think that that's the region pointer, but I'm not sure why. If it is the region pointer, I'm not sure why it would be overriding train queue values. So that means that either it's not the region pointer or times 4 plus 18 is not train queue values. I have no idea what that means. Times 4 is probably the number of words. As in words as in like words, D words, bytes, or words as in like arguments, code or whatever. I assume that you're talking about like, because I know a word is 2 bytes, so then it would be 8 bytes. If it's times 4. Wait, really? That's not confusing at all. I thought it was byte word and D word, and now they're just calling it D word anyway, or we're calling D word word. Each element in the array is 4 bytes long. I guess that would make sense. Then we run into it. I'm still not sure why the fuck it would be a region pointer, though. Like, what the hell? What a confusing mess. Plus 18 is because there's something at the beginning that is 18 bytes long. EAX should have the base address. ESI would have the number for the index in the array. Well, okay, so EAX plus ESI, according to iQuery, EAX plus ESI is building AI. Plus 9 would be an offset to building AI. So like I was showing earlier, where building AI has a 0x18, it also has 0x9. Train Q types is 0x9, and train Q values is 0x18. So in that case, we have train Q types and train Q values, which I guess would mean like... But I don't know what EDX is, though. Like... So I guess train Q types would be... It would be something more... This would be more accurate, I guess. Such pain. Such misery. EDX is just a register. EDX plus ESI together... yeah, so EAX is a register, EDX is a register, ESI is a register. EDX is being assigned the region pointer value. A value from the region pointer. That's what iQuery's suspicion is. We don't actually know. So over here, in this area, we have the second argument of the function, or the third argument of the function, being assigned to EDX, so to the EDX register. Now, the third argument of the function is void asterisk value. I don't know what void asterisk value is. iQuery thinks it's a region pointer, because void usually... He said something earlier. He said, like, void value in train unit can mean region. Void means value is ambiguous. Usually it's pointer that can point to different types of values. And he said that when he used code that references this function in another AI command, it also referenced region. So that's what he was saying. So EDX is just a register, yes, and the register has a value from a region pointer based on the third argument of the. We assume it's a region pointer, but it's the third argument of the function. And then and that thing is being assigned to train queue values, which is the final offset of building AI. So all that happens, and then we reset all of our registers and return. So I know that at this point it's like cleaning up and then returning to the original whatever function called this. So I know this much is like already accounted for. I already understand this. But then over here, like I don't know how to check if it's a region pointer or not. Like the biggest issue is I don't know what data is coming from the region pointer because EBP plus 10 just refers to the third argument, and I don't think the third argument is ever written anywhere. Like EBP, I think EBP plus 10 this is the only time we see that here. We see plus 8 for the first argument, plus C for the second, and plus 10 for the third, but we never see it ever again anywhere else. Third argument would be where it's called. Oh, like where on the map? Or what do you mean? Third argument would be where what's called. The region pointer data would be being called in it? Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know how to access that information. We're basically trying to write a hook for this. So first we need to translate the assembly into pseudocode, and then iQuery is going to take the pseudocode and translate it into Rust, and then add it to A's. Okay, so you're suggesting to search for what calls this. Hold on, I'll count. So there's only 4 functions that call this. I'll check this real quick. This function is not in a list, so that's great. Then there's AI spend rec build, which calls it. And then there is holy giant function. And this function is not anything. And then AI spend rec train unit, which I might have. Alright, I'll search Heinerman's list for the other functions. Like these are the 4 functions that call it. Alright. I'll get back to this in a second. I have to use the bathroom. BRB. Well, Beothal. Wait, what? Hello? Okay. I thought something was wrong with my microphone. Beothal, we know that what this function is and what it does. We just need to write a hook for it so we can modify the instructions, basically. We're reverse engineering it, more or less. So in this case, we have like basically what the last thing that I need to figure out here is what data is being overwriting the train queue values thing. So this function, if there's build queue or what, if there's an empty build queue slot for the unit, it will, and if it has enough money, it will build the unit. But I don't know where the region pointer comes from, and I don't know why it would be replacing train queue values. Like, I don't know why a value from the region pointer would be replacing train queue values. That's like the biggest thing here is like, it's not that we don't know what it is and we're deconstructing it so we figure out what it does. I mean, probably some operations in here we don't know explicitly. We know what the purpose of the function is. We know that it's AI related. We have definitions of like what arguments it takes. But we need to know, like we just need to translate it into pseudocode that can then be translated from pseudocode into Rust or into C++ so that we can then modify it in plugins. That is the process that we're doing here. So we're reverse engineering it, but mostly it's just getting the code down, figuring out what exactly the game is doing in any particular case. And the reason why our pseudocode needs to be accurate is so that we don't skip a step or perform a step inaccurately compared to the original game, and then it'll lead to crashes and other shit. So, I mean, we're probably going to get crashes and other shit anyway. Because, you know, that's just how it is. So I don't know if that helps you understand where what we're looking for, or what we're trying to do. Well, this particular function is calling two other functions. One of which gets an empty build queue slot, like it says right here. I've already written pseudocode for that function because it's fairly small, although my pseudocode is likely not complete. In this case, we have edx. I don't know what a unit plus a. I don't know what this pointer is. So I don't know what that is, but like I don't know what most of these pointers are, but basically what it's doing is like it will I'm actually not sure where this comes from. It jumps to block 2 if EAX is above 5, and then otherwise it sets it to 0. So EAX is used for the sake of returning, basically. It's like if it's 0, it's false, and if it's anything else, it's usually true, generally speaking. So we set it to 0, we run this through here, and then we jump to block 3 if there's some value that turns into 0. So basically, if there's no available... I'm pretty sure this value right here that we're comparing at this point in the first bit of block 2, pretty sure that's checking if there's an available build slot. 0E4 is 228, which is the limit of... it's like the last number of unit IDs, but in most cases, I guess that's used as like a dummy number. It's like, hey, if there's no slot available, then this is like a way to represent that. So it's basically checking, hey, are there any slots available? And if it's no, then it returns immediately, with EAX still being 0, and otherwise it will return with EAX being incremented. Although it's sort of like a weird looping thing, and it keeps comparing it to 5 basically for a while until there's at least one slot available or something like that. So yeah, this gets an empty build queue slot, and if there is an available queue slot, right? Then we've got queue slot, EAX's queue slot at that point, based on this. And if the queue slot is equal to 5, then we jump to block 1, which returns false. And if it's anything else, then we keep on going. Right, that's what I was thinking too. So then we overwrite the queue slot with the unit ID value, and then we push that to stack, and we call another function called prepare build unit, which I started to write pseudocode for. I more or less completed it, the first pass of it, but I don't know a lot of what this does. This also calls get empty build queue slot. I don't know why, because you never call this unless get empty build queue slot return true. with a build queue slot. So I don't know why you would call it again. That's probably inlining or something. Some dumb redundancy. For AI train unit? Yeah, there is a unit ID argument. Argument 1 is unit ID. Argument 2 is the request type. And argument 3 is whatever void value is. Tism. Well, I'm lost officially. What is EAX at this point? Is Unit AI? Well, I guess it would just be back to EAX. It's clearing the value, not Unit AI equals 1. Because it's not being used anymore. So what would you suggest then at this point? It's like, how do we figure out what, more definitively, what void value is? Do we go and disassemble the other functions? Okay. Oh, well, I don't know about that. I don't have access to all the pseudocode that Icor's written. I think this is the smallest one. I can check again. Yeah. Looks like it. I assume AL in this case is actually the unit ID. I don't know what subtraction with borrow is. What the fuck? All right, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So what register were we looking at again? Well, I don't actually know. How do I determine? I guess it would be EBP. What gets stored to EBP? I think this is our function here. So let's see. Call train unit. Right, yeah. There's a lot of calls in here. Oh, we have this documented already. All right, so train unit gets called if, or right after EAX equals ESI, and right after a bunch of numbers are pushed. Yeah, I understand pushing and popping pretty well now, I think. So at this point, I'm just not sure why. Like, you can push just numbers? You can just push that kind of data? I thought you had to push stuff through registers. But I guess this is arguments? Like, I've never seen that before, so I don't actually know. Right, but then you would pop 0, pop 8, and pop 0e, or would that stuff automatically get thrown into the function? Pushing just puts a value on the stack. Okay. Yeah, but... Okay, so that happens right before this, so then am I to assume that 0, 8, and 0e are the values? Let me see what 0e actually is. And then we can try to cross-reference that with the various other things. So 0e is 14. And then we can compare that to a few other things. Okay. I have a feeling that's actually a unit ID. Yes. So in this case, the third argument, well, the third thing that's pushed is the unit ID of nuclear silo. I mean, not nuclear silo, nuclear missile. So it's pushing the nuke missile as the third argument for train unit. So then, in this case, train Q values is actually the unit ID to be trained? But then why would arg1 be listed as the unit ID? We don't pop anything at the beginning of this function. So when it's calling this stuff after pushing just numbers, it's not actually giving me anything. What do you mean it's popped in the opposite order? Oh, so the first thing is unit ID, the second thing is request type, and the third thing is 0. But it's not popped anywhere, explicitly anyway. I don't see it popped anywhere. I only see registers being popped in this. That's why I was confused by pushing numbers. I'd never seen that before. Either push or pop. So this function doesn't actually pop those things, so how does it read them? Or does it not need to pop them to read them? Or is that automatic and not written explicitly? I'm super new to assembly, so I don't know what I'm doing. So we know that if that's the case, then 8 is AI request type. If we look at, I'm looking for my, here we go. Push 8 is unit AI type, which means byte type. So 0x8 for the AI request type is listed as byte type. But then it expects 0x1, 0x2, or 0x3. And sometimes 0x4. When it pops to registers, those numbers are put in registers. But it doesn't pop registers. That's what I'm saying, is like, we push these data in this function, and then call train unit. And in train unit, all we do is push at the beginning. And we only pop towards the end before returning to the source function that called it. There's nothing that explicitly says, take out the data that was... Okay, so down here, you mean, before we do anything. I mean, down here is after we already pushed EDI at the beginning of the function. So this function happens second. Right here. Oh, I don't know what that means at all. You're gonna have to translate it for me, if you don't mind. Oh, yeah, so this is writing unit ID, the first argument. So so basically when they're calculating out the arguments is when they're calculating that out. Yeah, EBP always holds the arguments, is what iCore told me. So EBP plus 8 is the first argument, plus C is the second, and plus 10 is the third. So now we know that the third one is set to 0 in the case of nuke silos. But we still don't know what that is. Yeah, pushing 0 is not very helpful. Okay, so we'll check a different function that does this then. We'll check make detector behavior. Maybe this will do somewhat better. So this is not that useful either. Yeah, if it always gets a null pointer, what is it even? Well, we've got 2 more functions to check, so might as well continue checking them. Oh, this calls it pretty early in. Alright, looks like this is a value and not a... This is a case of where it's actually got something here. Okay, so we have some data to go off of here. Oh no, this is block. Okay. All right, we got somewhere. We have some shit here. So we know that EDI is the unit ID. 3 is the request type, always. apparently. And ECX is now the void value. Now EAX plus 14 is ECX. ECX is assigned EAX plus 14, which is a pointer value, like the value of EAX plus 14. Meanwhile, EAX earlier is assigned EBP plus C, which is ARG2, building AI. I guess we'll say building AI. And okay. Yeah, you said that earlier, iQuare. We were just trying to track it down. We're trying to verify that. Balethal was walking me through the process, basically finding a function. I made some pseudocode for two other functions that call it, but they both passed null pointers, so they weren't very useful. So we're just trying to confirm that. So in this case, we found that it calls train unit after pushing ECX as the void value. And ECX is assigned a value of EAX plus 14. A value of the pointer that the pointer is EAX plus 14. I'm not sure what that would be, though. Wow. Hey, you caught up, iQuare. That's what we've been doing. Oh, shit. I have to be at work in 20 minutes. Bye. I'm just kidding. I do actually have to be at work. So, 1 sec. I'll see if I have a ride, and then I'll come back. Well, I spent all day working on assembly, so that's pretty epic. All right, so I do have to go. That's epic as well. But I found this. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know how to calculate ECX. It's EAX plus 14. Is that the first time ECX is? ECX before is EDI. But then, so that's probably for AI does have resources for units, so that has nothing to do with that. Yeah, so ECX then is equal to whatever this is. Yeah, so I don't know what ECX is. How would I calculate the value of the pointer EAX plus 14? That's like the missing link. And once we get that, we can confirm whether or not it's a region ID. So we just need to know what EAX plus 14 refers to. EAX is building AI? How do you... Oh, EAX is building AI. Oh, plus 14, okay. So then, building AI... Building AI, colon... 14 is AI town. So it's not region, it's town. Good catch. I don't know why I didn't think of that. So we know it's pushing town, not region. In this case, it's pushing town. So yeah, cool. All right, I gotta go. Otherwise, I would stay and do more work, but I can't. So bye. Love you. Mwah. Kisses.